A wave of momentum in the third quarter among AI, crypto, and even gold ETFs. I want to bring in Cinthia Murphy, Vetify investment strategist, for this week's ETF report brought to you by Invesco QQQ. Cinthia, we talk about stock ETFs a lot here, but obviously there's a lot of popularity in alternative asset ETFs, and we've seen this sort of explosion in crypto in particular. What stands out to you about some of the trends that we've been seeing this year?
Hi, Julie. It's been a moving target a little bit. If you think about where we were in the first half of the year, a lot of defensive positioning, a lot of talking about diversification, which remains a theme. But in the third quarter specifically, a little started on the April 8 low, and it's really picked up momentum here, is the return to this AI theme, the return to growth names, the return to risk on. We're seeing that in the ETF flows. We're seeing a lot of the popular names gathering assets, funds like, the Qs to big tech names and to a lot of the AI ETFs, which there are over 20, almost 30 ETFs in that category today in the market. So it's been an interesting market because we're seeing folks flock to the equity risk, flock to the names that we've known in the past couple of years that have done really well, your large cap, mega cap names, but remain invested in some of the diversification that they've been doing since the beginning of the year. So to your point, Bitcoin, which kind of toes both sides of this conversation between a risk asset and a diversifier, as well as things like gold, which have taken in, gold ETFs have taken in $25 billion in assets year to date and continue to pick up assets as we go forward.
Well, Cinthia, talking about the sort of AI trade as well, given the sell-off that we've been seeing, I mean, what's the relationship between price and flows? In other words, this tech sell-off that we've been seeing over the past few days, do you then see a lag and then flows start to come out of the ETFs? How does that tend to work?
Yeah, that's a great question because flows are a great lagging indicator. It tells you where investors have been, not where they're going. So it could be that it goes either way. It could be that folks get nervous and, we go back to the conversation about overvaluation, really expensive tech stocks, or it goes to, hey, a sell-off means a cheaper price, a lower entry point. So you get some of that buying opportunity also shows up in the space. I think right now the momentum has really been, if you look at some of these stocks, NVIDIA, if you look at funds like ARK-K, for example, a fund that we haven't really talked about in a couple of years, and it's a top 10 asset gatherer in Q3 so far. So you see that there's really some interest building here, and whether this is going to be a buy the dip or rebalance a little bit given the run up in prices, we'll have to wait and see.
And what about then on the other asset side, where we're talking about things like Bitcoin and gold? What are you sort of forecasting and seeing for the rest of the year for those kinds of assets?
So the crypto assets have a lot of things going for them right now. I mean, as you know, you've covered extensively, a lot of the regulatory framework has really been conducive to investor sentiment. We've done a lot of advisor surveys here at Vetify, and advisors are telling us about, better regulatory framework, better clarity on how the government feels about crypto assets is making them more excited about the asset class. So we're seeing investment interest grow in the advisory channel. We're seeing that interest just continue to boom in the retail channel. And we're seeing now institutional players really get into the space, especially in Ethereum, a lot of conversations about building on the Ethereum blockchain, a lot of development there. So it really has so much momentum in this space right now. It could be that we hit technical levels, the level sets a little bit, we go in, it's never a straight line up. But the demand has been strong. We've seen over $25 billion into Bitcoin ETFs. We've seen over $10 billion into Ethereum ETFs. And on if you look at all these funds, it's not just your spot Bitcoin ETF. A fund like BTCI, which is a Bitcoin plus income through options, that fund has picked up $500 million this year. So it's widespread through the category, the demand and the interest for exposure to crypto.
Cinthia, thanks so much for catching up with us for the ETF report. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.